Tuesday, everybody. Welcome into Undisputed this morning. We're glad you're with us. I'm Jen Hale, alongside Skip Bayless, Shannon Sharp. Good morning, guys. How are we?
We're doing great, doing great.
Congratulations to UConn for winning the national championship last night. For me, it was more of a final bore or final snore.
It was bad. It was bad.
It was not that pretty to watch. Unless you love the Huskies. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Huskies.
Right?
But it wasn't the women's college game. That's for sure.
That's for sure. Let's talk about the women's college game.
Amen, guys. I have never agreed with y'all more. All right, while at the Colorado State Capitol on Monday, the one and only First Lady, Jill Biden, said she wants both the national champion LSU Tigers from Baton Rouge and the runner-up Iowa Hawkeyes to come to the White House. Dr. Biden attended that game in person. She said she was so impressed with Iowa that they deserve an invite to the White House, as well as the reigning champs. Most outstanding player Angel Reese reacted to the news with a tweet that said, "A joke," with 3 crying, laughing emojis. Shannon, what's your reaction to this?
I'm going to be respectful to the First Lady, Skip. But you know how I want to go. And I'm not going to go as hard as I normally would, especially at her, because I'm going to be respectful of that position. The presidency is an institution, and his wife is to be respected as I give the president respect. But she needs to sit down. Skip, what is this about? Now, because the people that won, the young ladies that won, look like me, and the people that lost look like her, now we're going to invite the runner-up. Never in the history, Skip, do you know, going back, this goes back to 1865. Andrew Johnson welcomed the Brooklyn Atlantics and the Washington Nationals amateur clubs. But the first professional baseball team to get invited to the White House, Ulysses S. Grant did it in 1869, the Cincinnati Red Stockings.
That's some deep research right there.
Winners. Never in the history, Skip. That's the part of winning a national championship. That's the part about winning the Super Bowl, the World Series, or the NBA title. Guess what, Skip? We get invited to the White House. The losers don't get anything. This is not a participation award, and that's what's watered down sports in America. Little Johnny and little Susie get an award just because they were on the team, although they didn't win anything. All the teams, if you were in the league, you get a trophy. No, winners get a trophy. That's what life is about. You got to win. Skip, I don't get what do I get by sitting at home doing absolutely nothing? I don't get a paycheck. I don't get anything. I don't get the rewards of winning. And she's like, well, give her a break. She doesn't understand. She was in attendance.
She was in attendance.
She saw what was going on in the arena. She knows the backdrop of this story. The #1 trending topic. What was, Skip? It wasn't that LSU won. It was Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. And so she's a doctor. If she didn't know, she should have known before she opened her mouth and blurted this dumb scenario out because they played hard. Skip, everybody played hard. But you get rewarded by winning this. In 2016, it's been out for a long time, Skip. They said optics. How do things look? Does Dr. Jill Biden understand how this looks? She, white America, the losing side is white America. And she's like, you know what? Since the black, come on, Dr. Biden, you know better than this. Did you forget who helped put your husband in the White House? You're going to find out a very serious, hard lesson in 24. You'll be like a Kentucky or Duke freshman. You'll be one and done. Now, play with it if you want to. Now, you try to appeal to a certain group that don't give a you-know-what about your husband, that every chance they get, you see how popular you are? You see how popular your husband is? I tell you what, he'll drop another 5% if he do this.
Interesting.
Mr. President, I know you love your wife, and you should. But on this one, don't you listen to your wife and invite Iowa because they're undeserving. This was about winning. When you win as and Skip, normally they have them all. They have all the college athletes come at one time. You know, swimming and track and field and this one and that one. So what now? So Iowa gets to go. I just want Dr. Biden to tell me why she wants to invite Iowa. And all the runner-ups in the history has never been invited. So what makes Iowa so unique? What makes them so different? Is it because they're the little darlings and they look like you?
Is that because they started 5 white girls?
I'm just saying the optics look really, really bad, Dr. Biden.
So, Shannon Sharp, I will begin with a reference that you won't know to a 60s song I like by a group that I didn't really love. The group was The Who. The song was called Won't Get Fooled Again. And the last lines are, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. And I'm not going to go quite that far. I'm not even a political animal. But this smacked of, wait, we just left that behind, we thought, and now we're back to this from our First Lady. And I'm going to be slightly more disrespectful to the First Lady than you were, because this is so wrong on so many levels that it's close to being a Saturday Night Live skit. It's so bad. It's so sad, it's funny sad.
Yeah. It's going to be a skit.
It's going to be a skit. They might just leave the show with it on Saturday night. Are they live this Saturday? I've lost touch. But okay, the first thing that is so wrong, to your point, is that she says, I'm going to tell Joe I think Iowa should come too because they played such a good game. No, they got their butts kicked.
Yes.
They got their butts kicked. Alexis Morris in the second half, go look at the numbers. She outplayed Caitlin Clark on both ends of the floor. She defended her at a high level, and she outshot her on the offensive end.
Yes.
Go look it up. I thought she was the most valuable player on the floor on that day. No disrespect to Angel Reese, who got the MOP.
Right.
But listen, without Alexis Morris, for that matter, without Jasmine making those 5 threes in the first half, we might be having a different story. But from start to finish, LSU controlled the basketball game. The happy, sad part of what we're talking about is that game went through the ratings roof. That game was the most watched women's basketball game in history.
Right. It might have beat the men's game last night.
Well, I haven't heard yet, but it should have. And I told you going into this that I was far more interested in the women's Final Four than this year's men's Final Four.
Yes.
And it did prove true. And there is some harking back to what I witnessed firsthand. I was in the front row, press row, in 1979 in Salt Lake City when it was Magic Johnson against Larry Bird. And it worked for America because, wait a second, America had a great white, not hype, but hope.
Yes.
Because Larry Bird looked like, oh, he could be legit.
Yes.
And he proved to be very legit in pro basketball.
He definitely wasn't hype.
He was not hype. He was hope. Okay, he was real, and he was the realest white American player we've ever seen, and it ain't even close. We've never seen a men's player even in his constellation.
No.
Right?
Nope.
Okay, so that put the Final Four and March Madness on the national map. It just detonated off that game. But, of course, we know what goes on in this country. Underlying everything is black, white, black, white, black, white. And it will sell. That's why Conor McGregor versus Floyd was, it just went through the roof because it's a little white guy against a little black guy, right?
Yep.
And it worked. Yeah. And it was, I loved it. It was worth the price of admission, even though Conor hung in there and finally lost to Floyd. But this was not close. And in the end, because this was such a ratings bonanza, it felt like women's basketball had arrived.
Yes.
That again, it's about equality and parity. And I think the women have earned the right to be treated just like the men.
Right.
So you don't need to pat the Iowa women on the head and say, oh, you poor girls, why did you come to the White House too?
Right.
To your point, it's not a participation award anymore.
Well, if that's the case, you should have invited the Bengals. The Bengals should have went to the White House with the Rams because they played a great game.
Okay.
And whoever, and the Celtics, they should have came with the Warriors.
Or the Eagles last year with the Kansas City. Okay, we could go on and on, but that's not what the Iowa girls deserve any more than the LSU girls deserve.
Right.
Because in effect, she is pouring gasoline on a fire that has raged on Twitter and other social media platforms since that flashpoint moment in which Angel Reese, quote unquote, taunted Caitlin Clark. I had no problem with it because Caitlin Clark will taunt you back.
Exactly.
And it's just, it's showing that the women have arrived and they should be treated just like the men are treated.
Right.
Well, now you can read into this, is Jill Biden, Does she feel sorry for Caitlyn because Angel Reese taunted her? Oh, the poor girl. We should bring her to the White House.
She feels sorry for Caitlyn Clark. Looks like her.
Okay. Well,
they never feel sorry for us. For us.
No.
I mean, we don't get sympathy. We got. Hey, come on, grow up. Somebody offends us, they're just words. Did you hear what Angel Reese said to Caitlyn Clark? I thought they were just words. See, they're just words when they spew that to us. It's just, be tough. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never harm me. Now, if words get uttered to somebody that look like them, did you hear what she said? How could she? Come on, Dr. Jill. You know better than this. You're fanning the flames. You already said it's a 5-alarm, and you just dumped a 55-gallon drum of gasoline on it.
She did. It does. It feels like she feels sorry for the poor little white girls.
Yes.
That's how it comes across to me. Nancy Armour wrote a great piece about this in today's USA Today, just posted just before the show. I'm going to read a couple lines out of it. Her biggest point is this is also insulting to Iowa, implying that the Hawkeyes are such delicate flowers, they need to be propped up emotionally by a visit to the White House.
Right.
So I'm just doing it on a basketball, the women have arrived level. That's number one. And then this is about women in general. She said, we've spent our entire lives overcoming slights and insults, of soldiering on despite being told that we're not good enough or aren't as deserving as fill in the blank as the boys and men. We have survived. And as the women's tournament this year has shown, we have thrived. It's amazing that Jill Biden herself didn't recognize this, or that the people around her didn't tell her what a bad idea this was. Now, I'm not talking about black-white. I'm just talking about women rising.
Right.
Okay?
Right. Because you'd have never done this for a men's team.
No, no. Her final lines, Nancy Armour's, are women want parity, not pity parties, even if they take place at the White House. Okay, so we got two things operating. That's why I say it's so wrong on so many levels. We got a black-white level that is just like slapping you in the face.
Right.
And then we have a female issue here, which is on the greatest moment in the history of women's basketball. The First Lady undercuts it completely by saying, oh, I think the losers deserve to come to the White House also. You know what? If it had been a buzzer beater, if somebody had made a buzzer beater, but this was not close.
Right.
I don't know what she watched, but I know what I watched.
Skip, did she think this was going to be met with a roaring round of applause? Did she thought? I mean, clearly, she thought this was a